Every ounce counts in your pack, and I think electronics especially need to justify their weight with exceptional performance. I've systematically tested the market leaders in 9 essential electronics categories to determine which ones deliver when you're miles from the trailhead. These are the 2025 award winners. It's the electronics gear that has earned a permanent spot in my pack. For the best headlamp, we have the Nitecore NU20 Classic. It's USB-C rechargeable, has 2 buttons for both a white light and a red light, good lumens, and then very affordable at $25 and very lightweight at only 34 grams. So a lot of pros with this headlamp, but there are a couple cons, and for each category, we're gonna go over the pros and the cons. For the headlamp, it's the fact that the headband that it comes with isn't the greatest. I had to make my own headband, which I like a lot better, and then it's not as bright as some people might like. It's only 360 lumen, and for people who are night hiking or spending a lot of time in the dark, like if you're winter camping, then you might want something with a little bit higher lumen. An alternative, if you want something with higher lumen, is the Petzl Swift RL. It has 1,000 lumens, so tons of light, but what I really like about it is that the battery is removable and the charging port for the battery is actually on it. So you can recharge one battery while the other one is powering your headlamp, and it makes it so it's a very versatile system. For some people, the Nitecore NU20 and headlamps in general might be a little bit too much. If you're in the summertime in Canada here, it gets dark at like 10:30 p.m., so you don't really need that much light. And for that reason, I think a flashlight is a great option, and the award for the best flashlight goes to the Rovivon A5. This thing is just as bright as the NU20, but only weighs 14 grams, so it's less than half the weight and very compact. So you can just throw this in your ditty bag and not really worry about if it's there or not, and just bust it out if you need to go pee in the middle of the night and the moon's not too bright. This is gonna get the job done for those summer nights. The downside is the brightness as well as the battery life. This thing's not gonna last you all night of night hiking. And then it doesn't have a headband. It does have a little clip on it, so you can put it onto your hat and then use your hat kind of as a headband, but you need to be wearing a hat in order to take advantage of that feature. For the best watch award, we have the Garmin Fenix. I've been using Garmin watches for years. I've tried all the other options on the market, and I just keep coming back to Garmin because of the reliability as well as the feature set. There's 2 things that I use my watch for the most when I'm out on trail, and that's navigation, so I can upload tracks to the watch and then follow that track, make sure I'm staying on my path, which has been very useful a lot of the time, especially wintertime or when I'm on trails that don't have a very defined trail. The second thing is keeping track of my stats as I'm hiking or running. I use this watch for basically all my activities all day. I wear it every day, all day. But when I'm hiking and running, I especially like to keep track of what my pace is. So how fast I'm moving throughout the day, and then how much distance I've covered. So if I know that based on my mapping that I have a 30-kilometer day and I've made it 20 kilometers, then I know I have about 10 kilometers left. I just really like having that information. I find it makes me a much more efficient hiker. There's a couple other big benefits with the Fenix. One is battery life. I get over 2 weeks of battery life with pretty consistent usage with the Fenix 8. And then I really like the flashlight feature. There's a built-in flashlight on the back here, and I use that all the time. The obvious downside with the Garmin Fenix watches is price. They do make some more affordable options. I love the Instinct line as well, but it doesn't have as many features like on-device music or mapping. But for me, for how much I use this watch, and I use it every single day, I think it's worth the price, but that's not going to be the case for everybody. Value is subjective. For the best SOS and satellite communication device, we have the Garmin InReach Messenger Plus. I've tested out the phone options with Android and Apple, and I really think that at this stage in the development of that technology, having a standalone device where you can message directly from the device, it has really good battery life, it's super rugged, I think that's very important. And because this is what I bring on all of my trips into the backcountry, because it allows me to press that SOS button if I need it, get help very quickly, but I can also message back and forth with friends and family back at home. And I really like that I can do that even if my phone, the battery dies or it breaks or something like that. I have on-device messaging. What I love about the Messenger Plus is that it has picture and voice messaging now, which I've really liked for getting pictures of my daughter as she's been growing up and I've been going on trips. But if you don't need that, you can get cheaper options than the InReach Messenger Plus that are going to work just as well. This is a super reliable device. The downside is that you do need a subscription for it, and even though the battery will last like 2 weeks on a trip, you do need to charge it up every once in a while if you're on a longer trip, and it's just another device that you need to be carrying with you and charging up. For the best thermometer award, we have the Thermodrop thermometer. It's very small, very lightweight, and I think a thermometer is very important to bring on backpacking trips because it allows you to see what kind of conditions you're out in and then reflect on how well your gear performed. So maybe the forecast said that it's going to get down to freezing, but then your thermometer says that it got down to -5 degrees Celsius or 20 degrees Fahrenheit overnight, because the Thermadrop does allow you to see what the min and max temperatures over the course of a session using it was, which is very useful. You can see if your sleeping pad slept cold at that temperature, or it slept warm, or maybe your quilt or your sleeping bag slept cold, and you can then adjust for the forecast next time. The downside with the Thermadrop is that it's not rechargeable, so it uses a little watch battery on the back here. It lasts basically a year, but you do have to change that every once in a while. And then it doesn't have continuous recording, so you just see that min and max number. An alternative that does have continuous recording is the Inkbird TH2 Plus. So this can not only track the temperature as well as the humidity, but it syncs to your phone so you can see what the temperature variations, humidity variations were over the course of an entire day. This also has a larger temperature range than the Inkbird. I've taken this down to -30 degrees Celsius and it still performed at those temperatures. The screen goes, but the sensor is still sending information to the device and then to your phone. For the best battery bank award, this one was kind of tough because there's a lot of great options out there. Some are more technologically advanced, some are a little bit heavier, a little bit more expensive, some are a little bit less expensive, but the one that I landed on for this award was the Victomox power bank. It's a 10,000 milliamp battery bank, has a USB-C input output, USB-A output, and then a micro USB input with a little screen that tells you how much battery life is on there. It's very lightweight at 165 grams, and then it's only $25. And that was kind of the tipping point. It's about half or a third the price of a lot of the more technologically advanced power banks. The downside with this power bank is that it only has one USB-C port, isn't the fastest charger, and then is, like I mentioned, slightly heavier than some of the other options. One of those more technologically advanced power banks is the FlexTail Zero Power. It has two USB-C ports, very good output charging rate, and then also is very lightweight at only 146 grams, but it costs twice as much as the Victomix. For the best sleeping pad pump award, we have the FlexTail Max Pump 3. And there's two things I really like about this pump. The first one being that it inflates very quickly. It pushes a lot of air, and it pushes that air up to a really high PSI. So when you're inflating your sleeping pad, you don't need to add any extra breaths after using this pump. It just fills up to really high PSI and the pad is nice and firm. I also really like that there's a lantern built in, which is nice if you're hanging this inside your tent. It'll give you some light and you're not having to use your headlamp. It's just really nice to have that hands-free light option. Not everyone's gonna need that. Not everyone's gonna need a built-in battery, a super powerful pump. So the alternative is the Aerogogo Giga Air. This doesn't have a built-in battery like the Max Pump 3 does. It just uses either your phone or an external battery bank. It's only slightly less expensive, but it's a lot lighter. It's a third the weight of the Max Pump 3, but inflates almost just as well. It inflates to a surprisingly high PSI for such a small, lightweight option and inflates very quickly while not being super loud. That's what I like about both these pumps, is neither are very loud. The downside with the Max Pump 3 is that it's very heavy. And the downside with both of them is that they're more expensive than an inflation bag. In order to use a lot of electronics, especially battery banks, you need some way to transfer power. And that's where cables come in. And I actually do think that there are things that make very good cables and not so great cables, especially when it comes to outdoor activities like backpacking and camping. For my favorite cable, it's silicone cables, particularly this one made by Anker. It is nice and flexible, so it doesn't get tangled up quite as easily. It's just really nice when the temperatures get cold as well. It doesn't stiffen up. And then it's USB-C to USB-C with really good power transfer capabilities. I like carrying one of these so I can charge my phone while still using it if I'm in bed. And then I like to have a smaller, lighter option like this Nitecore magnetic one that weighs a lot less, is a lot smaller, but still a very capable one. I like the magnetic feature because it also means that it's not getting tangled up and just stays in this nice compact package. If you're out on adventures, it can be really nice to record either the entire adventure or certain aspects of it, whether you're skiing, wakeboarding, canoeing, backpacking, hiking, and that's where I think an action camera really comes into play. I like that they're waterproof, rugged, but still provide pretty good quality these days in a nice compact package. And my favorite is the DJI Osmo Action. I like that you can replace the lens if it gets shattered, which does happen if your camera gets knocked over and it hits the ground. It also has really good battery life, great quality, and is nice and compact and light. The cons is that you might not need an action camera. It's just another device to be carrying around. So for that reason, a good alternative is a phone. I personally use the Pixel phone, but I know the iPhones are really good for camera quality as well. And then the award for the best electronics accessories. This isn't an electronics item, but I find that it really helps, especially if you're recording video or taking photos. And that's this Dioram trekking pole. So this extends out with using really good kind of connection points there. These lock really nicely. One of the most solid locking mechanisms that I've ever used. It's a really solid aluminum pole, and then this great foam handle on it, really nice to grip, and you can slide your hand up and down depending on what kind of terrain you're going through. But the kind of thing that makes it the best electronics accessory is that you have mounting options on the top here. And then with that, you can put a phone mount on here, an action camera mount, and then attach your phone or action camera right on there. I really like having a built-in tripod into my trekking pole instead of carrying a separate one around, because I just find in that way I'm not missing moments as much, and I'm able to quickly deploy my camera a lot more easily. Go check out this video for my ultimate luxury backpacking gear list. In this video, I push the limits as to how comfortable you can be in the backcountry. Well, not getting too crazy and into the car camping realm. This stuff is still lightweight, but insanely comfortable.